All Felt No Filter is a puppet company that creates personalized custom puppet videos for people and companies all over the world. Puppeteer Troy Murphy is the mastermind behind All Felt No Filter, and in 2020, he was able to quit his job and work on puppets full time. I talked to Troy Murphy about All Felt No Filter, his other puppet projects, and more on this episode of Under the Puppet. You're listening to Saturday Morning Media, and now back to our show. Welcome to the show that is preserving puppetry through the personal stories of professional puppeteers. My name is Grant Pachoco, and this is Under the Puppet. Troy Murphy, welcome to Under the Puppet.
Grant, thank you so much for having me. It's a huge honor to be here with you today.
Well, I'm super excited to talk to you because you are somebody who I consider an inspiration, and we're going to get into this because we talked about a little bit of this before the show, but you're just out there doing it. And I love that sort of independent, I'm not going to wait for anybody. I'm not going to ask permission. I'm just going to do it. So I'm super excited to talk to you about your work and what you do. But I want to start like I always do by asking, do you remember your first exposure to puppetry? The first time you saw puppets?
Yes. Yeah. And this is like childhood. And I'm pretty sure everyone has sort of the same sort of story. It's Sesame Street. I think we were all exposed to puppetry as children as Sesame Street. And my parents who were very supportive of what I'm doing and what I'm creating, they always have been. They tell me stories of as an infant, a 3, 4 year old, when you're at home before preschool and kindergarten and all that sort of stuff. I would have my body clock would tell me when to go and sit in front of the TV to watch Sesame Street, which was 3:30 in the afternoon on our ABC in Australia. So my obsession for puppetry has been since then. And it was never an issue until we went on a family trip into the city. And we have in Sydney, Australia, there's a puppet shop in a place called The Rocks, which is our old town, like the first sort of settlement. And there's a lot of traditional buildings there. And inside one of these buildings was a puppet shop. And it was very iconic for the time. And I'm a twin, and I'm am the quiet twin until that day when I saw a Kermit the Frog puppet, and I had an absolute meltdown in the shop and wouldn't leave until I had that puppet. And this is going back 30 plus years. So the puppet was like $50 back then, which was really expensive. Still expensive now, but and so my mum always tells us like she met my demand, and we didn't eat for the rest of the day because we didn't have cash or card. We didn't have cards. We only had cash back then, so it's only what was in the wallet, or the purse in the case of my mum. But yeah, so puppetry has been forever.
As a young kid, were you like trying to I mean, you got this Kermit the Frog puppet. Were you trying to work on your manipulation? Were you trying to put on shows? Were you building other puppets? What were you doing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I like the Kermit the Frog puppet was all I had for a very long time, and we lived next door to a church, and I would I'd wait on Sunday. I'd go outside with my puppets, and I'd hide behind our brick wall and do puppetry. I love it, and do it to the kids who were at church, and it was always very entertaining. And then I started building in my teens, and I just remember for hours sitting in front of a full-length mirror, just practicing. And you were back in those days. It was VHS, so the Muppets on VHS, and I'd watch and I would practice voices. And I'm not a huge techno person, but I worked out how to attach a tape recorder to the back of the VCR audio output to a microphone input on a tape deck, and I'd record the songs from the movies, and I'd just sit on loop, and I would listen to the songs, and I'd sing the songs, and I would practice voices, and I'd practice manipulation for hours in front of the mirror, and I'd drive my family nuts. They think I'm crazy, but look, all that practice has come to this. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Now you mentioned your parents being supportive, and you said you're a twin. Was your family creative?
Only me and my twin brother are. He's a musician, so he's a music teacher and works in primary schools now. But we're the only, in our immediate family, the only creative ones. My dad was a banker, my mum was a nurse. So it's sort of we're definitely the black sheep of the family. Yeah.
Yeah, those are 2 banking and nursing, you can't be creative in those fields.
No,
You have to be
no.
it's like, "Hey, look at this new thing." I'm probably gonna get letters now from bankers and nurses going, "We're very creative."
We're creative
And you
with
are.
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff. Yeah.
So were you when you were getting, in schooling, if we call it elementary school here, but the in schooling and then going into high school and stuff, were you performing? Were you
No, I hate
no?
all that. I hated the drama club and all those. Hate's probably a strong word. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like the drama of all the actors and performances. So I never did any of that. But I always did my puppetry, and that was just by myself for a long time until the invention of like webcams and things like that. And I was on that so fast back in the Myspace days and things like that, and filming and just testing and putting out content. So I've always been very, and still am, very isolated in what I do, which is a good or a bad thing because I haven't had that exposure to working in a troupe or with other people or I've never done acting or anything like that. It's mostly self-taught or just watching others and replicating and going, how can I make that work for me and what I do?
And as you went through school, was puppetry a possibility of a job you could do, or were you looking at something else?
No, no, I wanted to be a cartoonist. We had a Disney production studio here in Australia where we did a lot of seconds. Like I think we did Little Bear, Brother Bear 2, and all that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of animation studio. So I wanted to go and work there. And as I was leaving high school, it closed down, and it's like, oh no, no, what do I do now? So I went into graphic design and marketing. So I kind of went different way, and now thank goodness I've come back.
Well, and having that base in graphic design and, marketing, I think has helped you very well with what you've done with your puppets. And I heard an interview you said, with actually, Unima Australia. I saw this interview, and you mentioned that you were self-taught a lot,
Yeah.
'cause I guess you did 1 year of graphic design, but then everything else you just kinda taught yourself.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, I fell into a graphic design job and with no experience. And so I thought, oh, I better go and study. You got to get a certificate to say I can officially do that. And I was so bored. And because I was working in the industry and studying at the same time, and the teachers would tell you something. I go, well, that's not how it works in the real world. So I was like, you know what, self teach. And so I taught myself video editing, taught myself marketing, and I spent a lot of time, and there's a lot of my day is spent analyzing and just looking at what's being done and working out, all right, why is that working? How is that working? And then replicating it for my own thing. So yeah, everything is self-taught, from graphic design, video editing, to puppetry, to marketing. Yeah, so it can be done without spending lots and lots of money on degrees and certificates.
Well, you do it very, very well, with all the stuff that you do. Now, I'm looking at your website. Your website is awesome. It's and we're gonna talk about it a little bit more, but you mentioned in your bio that you started working professionally as a puppeteer in 2007. So I would love to know what that first gig was.
That was see my puppet. My first puppet I had professionally made was my drag queen puppet. I always wanted to be. I'm a gay man, proud gay man, and I love the performance of drag, but I tried drag, and I am a terrible. I was uncomfortable in heels, and I looked terrible as a woman. I don't work. It doesn't. It was not a good look. So I thought, well, how let's marry the two: puppetry, drag. I created Queen Miss Left Hitter, a drag queen character who I still have. I think she's like 16 years old. This puppet, probably older now, and she's still okay in functioning. A little bit rough around the edges. I started doing a lot of things with her with videos, and that's how I taught myself. And that's how I got into MySpace and all that sort of stuff. and then I would do our Mardi Gras. So I'd go onto the street with a camera, and we'd talk to people, and just the puppet would make out with people. It was crazy nights. But then I got a gig at a gay night. Oh, I traveled around Australia doing one-off gigs, like appearances and things like that. But then I got a show, a weekly variety show where the Queen was a host, well, the main host. Then I had a co-host, and we'd get other drag queens to come in. It was a variety, and we'd get people to interview. We'd play games, music, everything. It was crazy. We did that for 2 years each week, and I think I had 1 week off in 2 years, and it was absolute nuts. And the show was epic. It was midweek, so it was a Wednesday night. So wasn't a huge crowd drawer, but we still put in so much effort. And I had a simple rule with that show was there's always got to be three things going on stage at one point, whether it be audio, visual, because we had a TV screen in the back, a giant TV screen in the background, or something happening on stage. And my mission with that was to create something that it was. I spent a lot of time not only performing but preparing the show because I did it all behind the scenes. So I produced and performed, and it was timed perfectly. I had run sheets. It was timed to 5-minute breaks. It was a 2-hour show, and so I wanted it to be so perfect behind the scenes, but look crazy to someone who was sitting in the audience, and we pulled that off every week for 2 years to the point where it nearly killed me. I ended up in hospital at the very end.
Oh no.
Yeah, terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of fun. I love live performance, the adult humor and the adult performance, and this is before political correctness as well. So, and being a drag queen character as well. But we did, we did always did a warning before any guest came on saying, look, the queen is a puppet, it's a character. She is going to be, yeah, she's fabulous, she's wonderful, it's her show. You are a guest, you are important, but the queen will, have a go at you, but please feel free to give back as best you can. But once I was under that table with that glove, with that puppet on, it was just nothing could beat that puppet. Yeah.
Well, and of course, puppets can always kind of get away with saying stuff that we can't say. Even today, maybe not horrible things, but puppets can get a little bit more leeway than people do. And no one seems to blame the performer if the puppet says something.
Exactly, exactly, and I think that's one of the joys of puppetry. Well, one of the joys of puppetry, and one of the reasons why the show was popular, because people would come in and go, "What the hell did that puppet just say?" And so it became a bit of a thing. It's like, what is she going to say this week? So it was a lot of fun, and I miss that. And I look at all the like I look at Puppet Up, and it's just. Oh, what a dream job. It's like you get to be on stage with puppets and you get to be inappropriate and have fun. It's just what a dream gig.
Yeah. You mentioned MySpace, and you are somebody who jumped on, early with puppets on MySpace, and I kind of see that as a little bit of a pattern with you because now you're on all these different little social media, your Instagram and TikTok and all this stuff. You got very popular on MySpace in the early days, right?
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't me on MySpace, it was the Queen, the puppet. And we did Australian MySpace did a tour of all the most popular profiles in Australia, and did a competition where the public got to vote for their favorite. And the Queen came in second. It was phenomenal. This is very much in the early days, so it's like, wow, I have a reach. The puppet has a reach. People are watching content, and this is crazy. And it was mind blowing, the whole thing. And social media has just exploded since. And it was a phenomenal transformation of technology and time, because the only way you could get famous back then was, well, before then was, if you had a TV gig, or if you were very successful on stage. But there's hasn't really been any sort of avenue for that in Australia still really isn't. Like we've only ever had a few famous puppets on TV in Australia in my lifetime, so there isn't a huge demand. So this was amazing. It's like, okay, I'm people love it. People are watching. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about more of your work in social media, but I did want to ask because something else that you mentioned on your website is that in 2014, you got to train with Noel McNeil a little bit when he came to Australia. So I would love to know about that experience.
Noel is amazing, and we've remained friends ever since. It was strange. Like he came to Australia, and I actually didn't know he was coming to Australia. And another American friend of mine sort of said, "Hey, Noel's coming to Australia. You should go check it out." It's like, oh, I haven't really, signed up to this puppet course, and Noel just, sort of he got into a group chat with Noel, and Noel just said, "Oh, come along," and so I did, and and it was great. We did hand puppetry, we did walkarounds, and it was just, and we I'd go during the day, and then Noel and I pretty much we went out for dinner or drinks almost every night. And it was just amazing to hear all his stories about Bear and working with the Muppets and everything. It was just such an honor to meet him, and I'm grateful that we're now friends. So it was a great connection.
Well, besides the friendship, what is something that you took away from those workshops with Noel that maybe you still use today in your puppetry?
Well, he did go through a lot of, working on camera stuff. Actually, actually, the best thing he said is, if you ever do a bad take, just pop your head up, and you want to and you want to do it again, just pop your head up. You get your head in the screen because that way they have to refilm it. Yeah, that
I
was.
love it. I love it. Well, let's talk about Cameo because Cameo is super important to what you are doing. I know there's other things as well, but how did you get involved with working with Cameo?
Cameo was it probably had been around for about a year or so, and another friend of mine who's a does YouTube, but as a female character, not as a puppeteer, as a female character. She was on the air, or he was on there, and sort of said, "Hey Troy, you got to get onto this." And at the time, actually, I hadn't really done anything in puppetry since I ended the live show, and I was busy working in marketing. I was working in corporate and hating it, but got to pay them bills. And he said, sort of jump on. I went, all right, yeah, sure thing, we'll do. And I did. I joined. I created a video intro with all the puppets, and I'd get the occasional booking. And then one day I got a booking, and then someone tipped me $400 for a video. And the next day, Cameo is calling me, going, "Hey, we need to do something with you." It's like, yes, please. And then it just built and built and built, and it became to a point where I was earning more from Cameo than my day job. And I kind of went, well, now's the time. And then the pandemic hit, of course. So uh,
Yeah.
it made perfect sense to, well, let's not go out in public. Let's stay at home and film cameos all day.
Yeah. And now, if people don't know, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows Cameo, but just in case you don't, it is an app, it's a website where people can request videos from personalities, celebrities, characters, things like that. It's really a great little service. I would love to ask, and you don't have to get into like details if you don't want to, specifics here, but how do you determine your pricing and like when to raise a price or lower a price, or how do you do that? Because I find that a lot of times for creative individuals like myself and other people, the pricing is the hardest thing to think about.
And every day, because pricing goes through my mind. I'm lucky because of the exchange rate, because everything's in American dollars for Cameo, and the Australian dollar we get more because of the exchange. So I can have my prices a little bit lower, but no one wants to pay full price. So
Right.
it's sort of a bit, you just got to, and with Cameo, Cameo takes 25%. And if you buy it through an app on Android or an iPhone, they take 30%. So, in some cases, you lose 55% of the sale. So it's sort of like, well, I need to have the price high enough that I can still justify spending the amount of time I do making a video, because it's not an easy thing to do. I green screen everything. Everything is then edited together. The sound is edited and as in cleaned up and tidied, so it's all perfect. There's background music. There's there's I do a full production as opposed to just putting a puppet in front of an iPhone. And I try to stress that. It's like that's why I charge a little bit. Well, I try to charge more, but it's such a difficult thing. It's like, it's, and especially now as well, we've got the cost of living problems around the world. So, you know, spending on personalized videos has will is I don't know if anyone else has noticed it, but it's starting to slow down a little bit. When
Yeah, for sure.
like that, people go, well, all right, let's spend more money on petrol and less on fun things. So it's like, well, do I drop my price? It's an everyday thing, to answer your question about
Yeah.
prices. But as long as I'm earning enough to pay my bills and put some money aside, like a good grown up, then that's where I go with that.
Yeah, I tell everybody if you're gonna get a cameo, book it through the website
Yes.
because you will help the performer so much you don't even understand
Oh,
how much you will help the performer by booking that cameo through the website.
100%, 100%. Do it through the website, or better
Yeah.
still, my own website.
There you go. There well, yeah, we're gonna talk about that too.
Yeah,
I did wanna talk about because you brought it up, your videos are incredibly slick, and you talk about I mean, when I do my cameos, it is just putting a character up in fr I try to have a nice background, but putting a character up in front of an iPhone, but
yeah.
you have green screen and you have multi-layers in your thing, so
Mm.
can you shoot well, first of all, you shoot this all in your apartment, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My living room, which I'm sitting in now, converts into a mini studio. I literally sit on my couch and film. So on the back of my couch, I put my green screen. My big TV is my monitor, and behind my TV, I have a camera that's permanently set up there, and a microphone that comes joins me on the couch, and I go from there. It's a pretty cool little setup, and big studio lights. It's always entertaining when someone comes over. It's because like, what are you doing on your couch? um, but and then a giant wall of puppets as well, which also raises questions. But yeah, no, it's all done in my living room. Part of what I do is, back to the pricing. It's like, how do I keep my prices down? Well, I'm already living here. There's space. I'll create a studio in my living room, as opposed to going and getting a studio or renting a studio and having to spend more money. But yeah, no, it's awesome having my desktop and my computer and all my stuff is here in my living room as well. And it's not a functioning living room as in living. It's more of a studio living room.
New meaning to the phrase studio apartment.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But and back to the videos, I always want to try and do something different. I always have wanted to do something different that stands out to make what I do, the product that I sell on Cameo, different to everyone else. And that's why it's like I could just film it. And I don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with filming it on an iPhone and doing things that way. But I've got the skill, so I might as well put it together. And I've over the years, I've developed ways to make it easy to do. So I've got templates, and everything is organized in folders, so it's just easily grabbed, and it's pretty much just drag and drop and cut and trim and green screen and export.
How much time are you spending like, if someone just says, "Oh, I wanna say happy birthday to my son," how long does that video take for you to put together until you're from shooting it to uploading it?
Depends on how a lot of it depends on the request itself and how much they give. Script writing is not my strongest point. So I sometimes spend a lot of time trying to write something that is personable, engaging, and so that the customer would like. So I do spend a lot of time on that. Not a lot of time. When I say a lot of time, anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. Filming. Once that's done, I write the script, and it's written in a style that I know that I will just be able to do it in one take. And because I've written the script, I know that I don't have to learn the script, and then I just jump in. Filming takes 5 minutes, and then depending, if it's just one character, direct to camera, editing is just, clean up the audio, and then I just dump it in, press the green screen function. Each different character needs a different green screening formula, but I've got all those presets saved, and then export. So I can probably spend about half hour on a video, the best, in a fast turnaround. Longer videos can take about an hour to two, depending on how many characters and all that sort of stuff. But that's why I tend to charge more for more puppets.
Yeah, well, it's certainly, I mean, they definitely stand out. If you're scrolling through Cameo and you see your videos compared to, I don't know, some other celebrities' cameos, you're like, wow, this production has gone into
Mm,
this, and it's definitely, I think if somebody gets a cameo from you, it's worth the money for sure because of the work you put in.
definitely worth the money. Not that I'm biased.
And get it from the website, not the app.
Yeah.
I did want to ask because I mean we're going to talk more about these personalized videos, but
Mm.
you shoot a lot of stuff on green screen, including monsters that are furry and stuff like that. What lessons have you learned about using puppets on a green screen in the process of making these videos?
Get a 4K camera. Yeah. Uh, 4K camera, good lighting, and spend a lot of time just experimenting with the program that you're using. So I use the Adobe Suite After Effects, and there's little feathering options to edges and things like that, and that helps with monsters as well. And it's just a lot of luck, really. You'd just be playing with different levels and different all the little buttons that come with green screening, and then most of the time it's just dumb luck. I'll be honest. Like, oh, that worked. Save that as a preset. You know, but monsters are definitely difficult to to green screen, and ostrich feather. It's
Yeah.
popular in a lot of puppets. Very difficult to green screen. But I also have a blue screen as well, just for some of my characters. And then also talk, throughout this experience, I talk to my puppet maker about colors for puppets and making sure we get the colors right, so there aren't conflicting colors for the green or blue screen, which always makes it interesting.
Right.
Yeah. But
Um,
my frog puppet, which is a little green puppet, he is done on green screen, which is just
wow.
yeah, yeah. And same with my other. I've got a green monster puppet that has a fur much like Oscar. That's also done on green screen, which always surprises me that actually works. Um,
Yeah.
and they don't work on blue screen for some reason.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was very okay. Fair enough. That's how it works. Makes it easier for me. One less screen to put up. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned your puppet builder. Who builds your puppets for you?
Jared Boucher. He's also Australian. He is such a talented puppet builder. I haven't had the experience of trying many different puppet builders over the years. I've got a few different puppets from other people. Um, but when you find something you love and something that works, not only does he build great looking characters, but they last. There's so much love and attention goes into his puppets. Like I said, the Queen, which Jared built for me years and years ago, is she's like 16, 17 years old and still fairly functionable. Well, very functionable. She, the arm rods, and she's peeling a little bit and unstitching in some parts, but 17 years for a puppet who did a live show for 2 years
Right.
is
That's good.
yeah, he's expensive, but you get what you pay for.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Jared, I expect a free puppet if you're listening to this for this. Yeah, yeah. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I think it's you buy 10, you get 1 for half price or
Yeah,
something like
that's
that.
it. Oh, if that's the case, I should have a few half price puppets by now. I've
You have enough to make 1 whole one.
That's it. Yeah, 40, almost 50 puppets now. It's crazy.
Well, you have so many characters, and your characters are available pretty much to anybody who wants a video from one of these characters. How do you, as a performer, keep all like the voices and the personalities? I mean, I know, and we're going to talk about this. Your holiday ones, you have like Santa Claus, so we know how Santa Claus acts. But for the characters who aren't like a holiday specific one, how do you keep that all straight?
What I've found with And my approach to doing cameo and things like that, and why my puppet troupe has grown so much in the last 2 years of doing cameo, is that it's less about the character itself and more about creating a scenario that people can buy into. So, instead of having a strong character that likes cheese, I don't know why I thought of cheese, um, or likes going for swims at the beach. I don't know. It's more about, well, this is the angry puppet, or this is the dopey puppet, or this is the cute adorable puppet, or so that's how I've gone through creating characters. So there's less. I haven't done massive character development on all of my puppets, as opposed to just giving them a persona that people can relate to, or people can use in what they want. So I've got my trailer trash, Brittany, who is, she's got no strong characteristics for her personality apart from being trailer trash and a little bit inappropriate when it comes to men. And my jock puppet, he's the big muscular, so he's just a little bit dumb, but he's it's all about the abs. And I found that this has worked on things like cameo because people can quickly relate to it, as opposed to, well, I'm getting a video from a celebrity, and this is their shtick. And I think that is also part of the success of what I've done. So, like the newsroom scenario I have, or a game show scenario. So I focus more on creating a product that people can have a video that is more about something as opposed to the character. I think I said that right. Yeah.
Right, it's almost like you're looking at the newsman character. Okay, it's a newsman. I know what this does, and I can, hopefully the person who's requesting the cameo or the video can write some lines like, "Oh, it'd be great if he did a report on this." And
Yeah.
just because it's so easy, everyone knows what a news anchor does.
That's it. That's yeah, and that's been the that was how I intended to do things at the beginning, and it paid off. So I think that's worked, because that comes from my marketing background as well. So learning more about what a customer needs, and what their requirements are, and then and delivering on that. So, and when it comes back to the voices, I think I have about 6 voices in total, maybe 7 or 8. But they all just sort of get lent to all the puppets, just in different, yeah. Some will be a little bit high. One of the voices would be, if I picked one voice, one would be for one character would be a little bit higher, one would be a bit lower, or just a little slight accent to it. But not all 50 puppets have 50 different voices. I'm not that talented.
Well, I want to ask you, you do cameos for all ages, literally all ages, from kids to adults. And like, I know that maybe one of your newer characters is Roast Monster, because getting roasts on cameo is very, people love that. And it's a little bit more adult.
Mm.
But do you have a limit of how far you'll go in those messages in terms of content?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In fact, yeah, I won't swear. I refuse to swear, and I get a lot of bad requests, and I always do it. It's like, whenever I get a cameo, and I always just think, well, could this get me cancelled if this went public, or could this damage me or the character's possibility of having a future if I were to go into doing something else with that character. So I've got actually a few two at the moment that it's like, oh, I'm just going to cancel that because I'm not going to say those words, or I'm not going to do drug references, or I'm not going to, you know, uh, be that way inclined. It's to the point where it's kind of. I was actually thinking about this morning. It's and because people get, I don't know what your experience is with cameo and people wanting inappropriate requests, because then they get upset that you haven't done it, and it's like, no, but you're asking me to do something that I'm not comfortable with, and that's a form of abuse. It's like, I need to be comfortable. Yes, it is a puppet, and one of my downfalls is creating the name All Felt No Filter, which is my troop's name. People think that the no filter means, I'll swear, or I'll be, it's like, having no filter just says is meant to mean that I'll just say what's on the first thing that comes to mind, and so people tend to think that I'm okay with swearing, even though I've got it everywhere. Um, but yeah, no, I don't like swearing, even as a normal human world. I've never liked swearing. It's crass. I'm also part of my eclectic working history. I used to work in radio. I've worked in radio and in print media, but in radio, you just don't swear, and I've never liked it. I think it's okay. Oh well, sometimes it can work for a puppet, but it's got to be a funny joke or a funny, it's got to be done right. But to be crass, I've never liked swearing. But with Roast Monster, I just like it because he's angry. And I can get some of my anger out because
Yeah.
I go through with Santa Puppet. Yeah, he's a month long of 14-hour days. Christmas is just is nuts for me, which I love. But you go for so long doing such a nice jolly character. It's just nice to be able to be mean.
Right.
you know you need diversity.
Right. We all do. We all do.
Yeah, there's only so much you can be nice for.
Well, I know that business rules might be different from United States to Australia. It's like here you got to get a business license and all this other stuff. But I'm curious, do you handle all of your own business affairs, or do you have somebody else do it, or
do it all
that
myself.
side of things?
Do it all myself. Yeah, it's a lot of work. But so everything that I do is done by myself. I've got no outsourcing. It's a lot of work. That's why people go, "Why aren't you publishing, content every day?" Got paperwork to do.
Right.
I need a day off. You know, that sort of stuff. So yeah, everything is done in house. Yep, by myself. It's a one man band with multiple hats.
Well, another thing that I think you probably did yourself is you have an incredibly thorough website. Do you find that a lot of people find you through your website, like they're searching for stuff, and that's where you get requests from?
No, no, everything. A lot of it's through Cameo. I need to really push my website more, but I've never really advertised or promoted my website. So I've built my website, but I haven't pushed it because Cameo does all the work for me. So there's no point in advertising.
Well, along with the personalized videos, you've done a lot of videos for corporate companies such as Google and Amazon and Target and Disney Plus. How, in your mind, is a corporate video different from these regular personalized videos that you do?
The money. No, I love business and corporate videos because I also get to flex my marketing skills as well, which always surprises customers. And often why some of these businesses keep coming back is because their human resources will come to me and want a video, and then they'll sort of give me some things, and I'll be like, all right, bang, 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 send back a script, and they'll be like, wow, okay, but I just love it, and it's always, it's a sort of a pinch yourself moment when you get an email and the address is from at google.com, and it's like, well, hold on, is this spam? Or like I said, Nike or Target or any, it's like it's a real pinch yourself moment, and it's like, wow, I do have reach, but I love doing them because you've got a bigger audience often with these videos. You can have a little bit more fun with them because it's puppets on a screen, and they they're looking for something unique and different. Like I did a YouTube contacted me. They were having a during the pandemic. Normally they have a bring your kids to work week, and they were doing it virtually, and they sort of contacted me and said, look, we want to hire you for a week to do all these things. So I ended up doing all these live events for them with the puppets, and it gave me an opportunity to look at more technology. So how to have in a Zoom meeting, how to have multiple screens on my channel, so I could do story time with the puppet reading the storybook on the screen at the same time in high resolution while still performing and editing and making everything work at the same time. It was just phenomenal. These experiences from these big companies, it's just, yeah, a lot of fun. A lot of
Yeah.
um, I think that answered your question. I'm sorry.
No, it
I
did.
go on tangents sometimes.
No, no, no. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I think with your background in marketing too,
Mm,
since it's probably not all the time, but it's probably marketing people reaching out to you. You can speak their language as opposed to when they come to another puppeteer who's like, "What? Foam? I don't know what you're talking about," you know?
100%.
But you can really click with them.
Yeah, 100%. And you'll like, also, you often find that it's like, well, I can understand what they want in means of what they're trying to do, and I can understand that what they need or for the outcome of the video, and go, oh, well, this is how we can do that with the puppets and make that actually work for you, and then give my suggestions of how this might work better with puppets, which is definitely an advantage to have, as opposed to just being sent a script and reading it, because you can take a script and go, well, actually, from my experience, and I think it might be better if we did it this way for your target audience, and things like that. And I can go back to them and go, well, who's your target audience? What is your, I can talk the language back to them, and they go, oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's great. That's great. And doing these videos has also led to an opportunity where you were on Jimmy Kimmel Live, right?
Yes, it was nuts. Absolutely nuts when you get an email going, "Hey, would you like to be on Jimmy Kimmel?" It's like, yes. Although the final cut, it was such a weird experience. I loved it. I loved it, and I would happily do it again. But they didn't end up using my voice, and because they changed the script, because they sent me a script, and they wanted me just to read a line and deliver a line, and it was hilarious. And because I've never had the experience of working in TV or this sort of stuff, and it was a multiple people on their end, and one would, and they go, read the line, and one would go, no, that's not all right, and then the other guy would go, yes, that's fine. And it was just like, guys, make your mind up. Am I doing it right or am I not doing it right? And so it was just ages trying to deliver a line. It's like it's a, and the Trump voice is not an easy voice to do. And also being Australian, my native accent doesn't really match Trump's strong American accent. So I have to do a lot of. I'm very restricted in how I can deliver a line, because I've got to hit those marks, and it's hard to hit those marks while you're trying to deliver in a specific way. Like I can't make Trump sound sad, or I can't make my Trump puppet sound super excited like I can with my other voices. It's very much the one. So it was a struggle. But then at the end of the day, they end up changing what line they wanted him to use, and they got someone else to do it, which was a bit of a shame. But still very cool. There's
Yeah.
some it's not every day that you get to say, hey, I was on Jimmy Kimmel,
Right.
which is phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, you are on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, and with so many different social media outlets, and for somebody who's worked in social media for a long time, how do you know which ones? And there's new ones coming out all the time. How do you know which ones are worth putting your time into, and which ones you're just like, oh, I'm gonna not worry about that one.
That's a really difficult question, because it's peaks and waves, really. It's almost gotten to the point where I don't think it really matters, as long as you're getting content out onto all of them. I haven't been as active as I should have been on the social medias, mostly because I'm doing paid videos, and each social media has a different algorithm. And even and my biggest thing is studying algorithms. Even Cameo has an algorithm, and to do well, you've got to understand algorithms, and one of my biggest banes is they keep changing. It's like, you got it, and then it changes. But for me, Facebook has slowly died off because they did that whole pages, groups, pages. Oh, you only get seen if you pay for it. It's like, well, I'm not paying for people to see my content. And TikTok, of course, is blowing up. That's a huge thing. But again, keeping up with that algorithm is just, it's such a hit or miss thing. And you've experienced it as well. It's like, it's like, I see a lot of the stuff there. And I don't think I don't understand. Maybe it's an age thing, but I don't really understand their mentality behind the algorithm. It's like the same people doing the same dances or the same people doing the same content over and over again seems to work. It's like, but that's boring as a content
Yeah.
creator. Which is why I'm probably moving. I used to do YouTube years and years ago, and I had a really successful YouTube, but I dropped that when Facebook sort of started doing video and really pushing YouTube out. But I'm thinking of going back to YouTube and trying to concentrate back there because I can't handle TikTok. Because it's just
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and I've been in these meetings with people from TikTok, and really, it's what is your most popular video? Just do a different version of that,
yeah,
and it works.
yeah,
Like I know, like there's one type of video that I know that if I do, I'm gonna at least get
that
yeah, I'm gonna at least get 20,000, if not more, and maybe 500,000 views, maybe 1,000,000 views or whatever. And what I've tried to, I mean, this interview is about you, it's not about me, but what I've tried to do with this TikTok thing is I'm trying to find 5 of those different videos
mm.
that I know if I post them, they'll do well. So then it's not as boring to me because it's like, oh, I got to make another dumb Kyle video uh, in order to just keep my account alive. Because if I don't, then I'll be losing followers and creator fund money and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's the other thing for us in Australia. We don't have the creator fund money, so I was like, well, why would I bother investing so much time into it if there's not the opportunity to make the money from it? And I spent a lot of time experimenting with the different characters and trying to do stuff, and it's so hit and miss, and it's always disappointing when you put so much time and effort into a video and it's like, oh, didn't do well.
Yeah.
Great. But my biggest thing
And
is the creativity. It's like it is not fun doing the same gag over and over again.
right, it is.
No creator wants to be known just for that one punchline. It's like, it's like the whole cowabunga man, catchphrases. That was so 90s. you know,
Yeah.
we don't need to see that again. We don't need it. We want, I love TikTok to go and see the creative people and things like that. And of course, the thirst traps. We're always there. Thirst
right.
um, but yeah, you get bored of that, and I find myself watching videos that are entertaining and different, as opposed to the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
It's cruel for creative people. I think TikTok
Yeah.
is made for those who aren't creative, who still want to be on social media. Yeah, but it kills me. Kills me. Absolutely
Yeah.
kills me.
Yeah. Well, you were doing these live shows, and then you kind of moved into Cameo, and the pandemic shut everything down. And the pandemic is coming back. I mean, hopefully, we're not, the pandemic's coming back, but the pandemic is going away, and so live things are coming back. Do you have any interest in getting back out and doing live shows, or are you strictly I'm going to do pre-recorded and video stuff from now on?
I would love to do live stuff again, mostly because I have lost the talent to be able to do live stuff because of not performing live. There's to be able to have the wit to be able to just be able to roll out a joke and or say something funny or to communicate with an audience or a co-host and things like that takes a lot of time and effort and practice and and I feel as though I've moved into that script based thing. I've lost that skill set, and to the point where I did an audition for Henson last year for Puppet Up when they did the LGBT um, mixed everyone auditions, and I got through. But when it came to doing the actual audition, I stumbled because I was so out of practice, and it was also 4 a.m. in the morning for my time. Um,
Right.
I stumbled because they gave me a line to try and make something funny, and I went, got nothing. Got nothing. I haven't because I'm out of practice. So I'd love to get back into doing live stuff just to hone that skill again. 'Cause so and that's the other thing, like, because the pandemic, I've been in my apartment for 2 years. I haven't left this place. No, I have left, but,
Do you need help? Do you need us to send somebody?
I just
Blink twice.
someone, yeah. No, but it's become like that because, I made the decision to work from home, and you lose that human interaction, and you just lose that skill to a degree,
Yeah.
which is why I feel so sorry for this young generation coming through, totally off puppets, but you develop those human interacting skills at a young age, and these poor kids missing out big time. Watch puppet videos,
Well,
you get it though, kids. Yeah.
well, I wanted to ask you, I know you've done some stuff with Unima Australia, and I wanted to just talk about what is the, puppetry community like in Australia? Is there a community going on down there?
It's very small, very small. I love Unima. They're a great organization. It's great to have an organization that focuses on puppetry and brings puppeteers together. There aren't many of us though. There really aren't, and there aren't many of us doing it full time either. And a lot of Unima are just hobbyists and things like that. Australia is really different. Like 90, I would say 99% of my clients come from the US. There just isn't. Maybe it's a cultural thing. Americans love puppets more than Australians love puppets. So there isn't a huge thirst here in Australia for puppetry. Like we've never really had it on TV. We've had a few kids shows with puppets, but nothing exciting. And there are a lot of great puppeteers in Australia, but we all tend to focus externally and towards the American market. But Unum is great, and the puppetry community, although small, very, very, very loving, very supportive, and I've made a lot of friends through Unima. So and it's also nice to have people to talk to. It's like it's about what you do. Yeah, going out with my friends, it's very hard to talk about work because no one understands.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to talk about you kind of have done these, fun series, that you've posted to Instagram and other places. There's, like, the Puppet Graveyard, which you very kindly asked, my character to be part of, and, Nimrod's Choose Your Own Adventure that you did as well. Do you like doing these little series like that, and will there be more, from your characters, more series like that?
Yes, definitely. I love these series. Are my favorite thing to do. Nimrod's Choose Your Own Adventure is still a continuing thing, although I haven't done a video for a little while. That's what I want to get. That's the direction I want to move my stuff towards because it's more multiple puppets on the screen, which I can really hone my skills as a performer and an editor at the same time. They're more entertaining for me to do, but they do take a lot of time. Like I think those Nimrod Choose Your Own Adventure videos that can have anywhere up to 6 characters on screen at the one time. They take me a couple of days to do just for a 1 minute clip because you're filming it, you edit it. Oh, I can do that bit better. You go back and film it. Um, but I love those. So that's the direction I'd love to go, and then to take that more towards YouTube and doing things like that. That's the goal. I just need more hours in a day.
Well, as we wrap up here, I always like to ask, Troy, what has been the highlight of your puppetry career so far?
Wow, that's a really good question, and I should have come prepared 'cause I knew you were going to ask that. Uh, um, I
Well, it can be more than one thing. You can pick a couple things.
I have had so many pinch yourself moments over the last 2 years. I think actually the biggest highlight is that I can now say that I'm a full time puppeteer. I think that is, they often you with the mindful side of people. they often talk, or the mindfulness people, they often talk about, going back and talking to your 5-year-old self, or the young child within you. And I always imagine myself going back and telling the 5-year-old me, guess what, buddy? You get to do it. And that just makes me glow. So I think that's definitely, to be able to say I'm a full-time puppeteer, because not many people in the world can do that. Not at all. And there's a lot of hobbyists, and there's a lot of people who do it on the side. And forever I've always been one of those people who do it on the side. But now it's like, no, this is your full-time gig. You make it.
Yeah. Well, Troy, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This has been a huge honor, and it's been amazing. So thank you.
It was so much fun sitting down and talk to Troy about All Felt No Filter and his career for this episode. For links to All Felt No Filter, as well as to some of the things we talked about, check out the show notes for this episode number 71, over at underthepuppet.com. If you'd like to hear even more of my talk with Troy Murphy, download the free Under the Puppet app for iOS and Android and click on the gift icon in the listing for this episode. Now it's time to announce the winner of episode 70's giveaway for a brand new copy of the book Figures in the Fourth Dimension by Ellen S. Rixford. The question was, at whose book signing did Jamie Don Moyer meet John Tartaglia for the first time? And the answer was Cheryl Henson's. And the winner is Kiera Eaton. Congratulations, Kiera. Your copy of Figures in the Fourth Dimension is on its way to you right now. Well, now it's time for this episode's giveaway, and it was donated by our guest, Troy Murphy. Troy is donating a custom puppet video from All Felt No Filter to one lucky winner. The giveaway is for a one-puppet, direct-to-camera, 150-word for personal use video. To be entered to win, simply answer this question from the episode you just heard. How many years did Troy's nightclub show run for? When you find the answer, send it in an email to underthepuppet@gmail.com with the subject line giveaway, and you'll be entered to win. All entries for this giveaway must be received by May 15th, 2022. The winner will be chosen at random from all correct entries and be announced on the June 2022 episode of the show. One entry per household. Good luck. I want to send a special thank you out to all the Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons who help make this show possible. Patreon patrons at the producer level and above who get a special shout out are Vicky Sebring, David Akers, Tony Urbano, Kathy Crawford, Eve Cunning, and my great aunt Dorothy Pachoco. To become a patron, visit patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Under the Puppet. If you have questions, suggestions, or feedback about the show, call our voicemail line at 818-806-9604. Or click the Call the Show button in the free Under the Puppet app for iOS and Android. You can also send your questions and feedback via email to underthepuppet@gmail.com, or you can connect with the show on Instagram or Twitter by searching for Under the Puppet. And don't forget to tell a friend about the show. Thank you so much for listening. This episode of Under the Puppet was edited by Steven Staver and featured music by Dan Ring. Help spread the word about the show by sharing your favorite Under the Puppet episode with a friend. Under the Puppet is copyright 2022 Saturday Morning Media, Grant Pachoco executive producer, all rights reserved. www.saturdaymorningmedia.com. Under the Puppet proudly presents The Adventures of Timmy the Tooth Reunion. In this almost 90-minute video, you will hear great stories from the cast and crew who brought this amazing puppet show to life. Plus, you'll see never-before-seen artwork and exclusive behind-the-scenes video. Under the Puppet's Timmy the Tooth Reunion is available right now at timmy.underthepuppet.com. You've been listening to Saturday Morning Media. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.